So here's I've been as a background, I've been running electronic ensemble for the past 8 years in different situations. I started my first directing ensemble at the Community College of Philadelphia. For about 3 years, I've been directing the electronic music ensemble in Philly. And then about 2 years at the Oberlin College, I was directing an electronic music ensemble. And then in Wayne State, I've been directing the electronic music ensemble for 4 years now. So I think there's something unique about making electronic music as a group. So this is one of the pictures of my electronic ensemble, and there are like about 10 people of them. I get as small as 6 to as many as 23 last semester playing music together, electronic music together. So first, I want to actually define what electronic music ensemble is. We play together all the time. So it's an ensemble mainly consisting of electronic music instruments. And I think this is my personal aesthetic goal, but I want to have a ensemble play the music that's uniquely electronic. So my kind of aesthetic goal is that if I could play this music with the orchestra better, then that's out of question. Like we let the orchestra play. If I can play this with the logic session or do session, then maybe I shouldn't do that with the ensemble. So I know there's other ensembles kind of doing a different approach, but for me that is the kind of yes or no line for choosing which piece to play. And also I also want to mention that this is not a new idea. I don't know if my link is working, but then here is a document where I am in, and this basically lists kind of a currently working electronic ensemble around the world. And I can just go on, and there's about like 150, 160 entries already. So many places actually kind of working and kind of try to develop this ensemble repertoire for the laptops, for the synthesizers, and for anything that goes with electronic. But I also noticed that I have a traditional instrument player, so we incorporate saxophone, we incorporate electric guitar. If the students wants to add their own primary instrument, then he or she can do too. Okay, so that's kind of like my world that I love to live. I'm fortunate to working in a place where students can take this as a class. They take credits and then it counts towards their graduation. So I'm actually lucky to have students willing to play all sorts of interesting music with the electronics. Okay, good. So let me give you an example of something that we play. It's a PlayStation Quartet number 1. So the one you heard at 3 o'clock was Quartet number 2, but this is actually number 1, and it sounds something like this. I think I can just, oops, I have to go like, so they look at the score. And now if you see actually them performing, they actually look like this. And we think about like, what's uniquely electronic about it, then we can do something like so they have a little joystick to kind of like control the filters and string thickness of a physical model. And then we play, and there's a lot of sort of elements of improvisation. So as long as student follows the instruction on the score, everything else he or she can actually kind of improvise, so that every performance you see sounds a little bit different. So something that I think about is like, if something sounds better in recording or in a studio production, then maybe I should do that instead of writing an ensemble. So when I create a music, something like this, I write a music so that it's best experienced on stage in a concert situation, or as a performer. So for this kind of piece, I also want to actually kind of make something useful out of all this technology expertise we build games, right? I mean, I have at least 2 decades of doing this, right? And then there's this muscle memory that we built, and I want to kind of use that to express music. And I know that my students built decades of, maybe a little less than me, but many years of muscle memory out of playing, Super Smash Bros. Or like Tekken. So we have this. So let's see if we can actually kind of use this to play the music. The score you just saw here, I mean, they know exactly what to do without even looking at the button once. They know exactly where the circle is. They know where the square is. As long as you understand the logistics of it, then it's not hard to kind of translate your gaming muscle memory into the performance. So just like the way we can play the guitar scales, if we practice, they can just play things out of the experience that they have playing games. So that's something that I need in electronics. I need the technology to facilitate that, and I try to find that the way. And also having 4 people playing kind of should make sense. When other than just like one person playing one part. So I like to think about like one instrument that could be used, but then that instrument should sound whole when we have about 4 or more players playing together. Okay. Now I also want to give you one more example of the things that we do. Here's the piece called Dubious Toppings. At one point, we write piece inspired by pizza, so here's my pizza piece. Yeah. So I have a piano that plays, but also everyone is kind of playing the So everybody has some kind of like a simple instrument, a software instrument that imitates typing sound. But if 23 people plays the typing sound together, then it's gonna sound like for me, it sounds like a rain. Right? And everybody has their kind of different, like their own lighting design in a way. You get that? And now there's this piece that we can play as a group. In a concert situation, I will actually make my performers surround the audience so that you get a full surround experience instead of just getting stereo effect of this thing. So then this kind of turns into something more electronic. So maybe here from here. So that kind of sound now has a little pitch. Yeah, so this kind of something that I was thinking, okay, what can I do with the 20 people ensemble that I cannot do with my dog? What can I do something that I cannot do with band, right? So usually it comes down to like kind of limiting what I can do. If you have 20 people, not all 20 people can actually make drum, bass, and a guitar and a piano song all together. So I think I find my creativity by taking out things that we do not need. At the end, everybody will hold the letter A, so it gives kind of like a nice natural rhythm when the letter starts to repeat. You can count the letter A. They type P-I-G-G-A. So, how do I do this? So we talked about, I'm glad that we actually talked about this affordability and the accessibility. Something I think about a lot these days, and actually in the past, is like, how do we go beyond being a good musician? I mean, I have a music, but I know I can play my music very well, but then what's next? I think one of the reasons why we still listen to like classical music and enjoy classical music is that the music kind of does not need the actual original performer or the composer to present that. In that time we have a score, but in this case, I think for me writing electronic music ensemble is my attempt to go, how can I actually make my music perhaps outlive me in a way, something that, how can I actually make my music just, not just my music, but something that could be enjoyed by other people without me being present. I think some of the challenges we have in electronic music is that we can do things really well, but then you need me to do that, right? Like, we can actually make really amazing things, but you need that guy or that person to recreate that in California, recreate it in Korea. So there's this kind of, despite all this digital amazingness, internet amazingness, you need this physical presence to present the electronic music. Somehow people figured out how to go over there by writing a score, a few hundred years ago. So that's why when I write electronic music, I want to make sure that the gear that you use is commonly accessible and hopefully cheaper. That way, if somebody wants to play my PlayStation piece, they will download the score, maybe just get a PlayStation controller that they've been using, and then in a day or two they can play. So I like this transferability of electronic music quite a bit, and I kind of focus on that. So basically, like a lot of pieces that I write, I try to use either no extra gear or something that's cheaper, but I want to make sure that it's cross-platform for both PC and a Mac. And then I use Super Collider, which is a free program available for both PC and Mac. It could be it could be a technical thing, but I think having that kind of mindset, just that this could be transferred to other people and could be played, could be replicated without me, is something that I always think at the very beginning of the creative process. Okay. And then something that I also want to try is try to avoid extra gear. As you have seen in a dubious topping, this could be played without plugging into the amp. So if I can, I just try to eliminate extra gears to buy. And I don't know. I hope it's working in a way. I just want to show you like, list of the groups that they play my music. So except those one with the with the stars, maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4. All other groups played my piece, electronic music piece, without interacting with me. They would just download it, figure it out, and actually they perform either in a concert or in a class. For me, it feels like amazing. In a way that I'm also a trained composer. I have a degree in composition. We kind of take that as a granted that I write a notated music and somebody in the ensemble in somewhere will magically play. But as I concentrate on the electronic music, it's not actually a given that I have to be there, or I have to at least do text to make it work. But then, kind of bypassing that step kind of makes my creative process very different. So there's a lot of things that I can do, by writing this way than let's say writing something for my no input mixer setup or like that. So that's I think what I find very personally like exciting about writing electronic ensemble in this kind of format. That's something that's transferable. Okay, good. We talked about this kind of a promotion and the price of doing this. As far as I can tell, there's some money we can actually grab from fundraisers, from foundations, and grant opportunities, or even government. I played quite a bit in the Noan nights, always packed, and then there's a lot of people coming in. So this audience that we can still reach. I also collaborate with the graphics department, and basically all these characters are the number of the concerts that we play. There's a lot of places to go and play as an ensemble. This is part of the synthesizer in the library thing that I met Henry. But also, these are the list of organizations I was able to get funded. I mean, something from the Wayne State, but also High Wire Lab, New Music USA, and most recently Knight Foundation. I applied, with the electronic music ensemble content, and I was able to get some funds to, buy gear, actually take my students to other places. In fact, in 3 weeks, I with the money I got from New Music USA, I'm taking my ensemble to about 7 venues at in the East Coast, and somehow they funded it. It's like, sometimes I submit stuff, I'm like, they're not gonna buy this, right? But then, sometimes, there's like really pleasant surprise. So that kind of tells me that there's a general interest about these aspects of performing with electronics, right? All this, our kind of theme of unrecordable electronic music, having this community, sense of being performing electronic music. I think there's a kind of a general interest of actually, what this is about, and hopefully we can actually make this as a more constant effort, so that we get not only the effort and the support from among us, but from outside, from other entities, from other art communities, from everyone. I think it's possible. I think it's really possible. Okay. And that's my short talk. Do you have any questions about the electronic music ensemble or what I just presented? Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about the visuals on each laptop?
Yeah, so the Super Collider actually has a very little visuals. Basically, it's a GUI developers to create like a buttons and switches. So, I can make like circles and triangles, right? And then, but I cannot make like somebody dancing. So all you see in my Super Collider piece is like kind of shapes, and then the circles that you saw in there. So it's actually basically a GUI designer. Yeah. I don't think it was meant to actually make a full-blown graphics, but at least I have some visual cues for the audience to see. So when they perform their music, this is their performance stance, so that they don't have to look at the screen, but they basically kind of do more eye-to-eye communication. Sometimes we are, we do too, we concentrate and then we sometimes lose our contact with the audience. One of the first criticism and the feedback I got from my dancer friends when I play electronic music is that you got to work on your posture. I mean, you got to you got to work on your the way you look at the audience and how you stand. And I'm like, I never think about that, because I'm concentrating on the music. But then our dancer friends, our theater friends actually points out, you got to do this, and then I really listen. Talk about the communities and collaborations. Good. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. And then, as you said, we're gonna leave that setup for you to take a look. And I think we're gonna have a little break too before 7:30 concert. If you're hungry, Tim Hortons is there, Blimpie's is over there. Yeah, so there's some food, but I say we take a little break, and then you take a look at Jeff's setup. At 7:30, we're gonna do a finale concert. Okay, thanks so much.